Have you ever wondered why you can work so hard during the day, yet still wake up to the same financial struggles? What if I told you that the 8 hours you spend sleeping might be more important to your wealth than the 16 hours you spend awake? That's right. The path to abundance might not be found in your waking efforts, but in the sacred moments just before you drift off to sleep. In this transformative journey we're about to embark on together, I'll reveal what Florence Scovel Shinn discovered decades ago, that sleep isn't merely rest for your tired body, but something far more powerful. It's actually the sacred womb where your future wealth is conceived. Has this ever happened to you? You work tirelessly all day, checking tasks off your list, yet somehow prosperity remains just beyond your grasp. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. The truth is startling. During those precious twilight moments before sleep, your conscious mind, that skeptical, analytical gatekeeper, begins to relax its vigilant guard. As this happens, something miraculous occurs. Your subconscious mind rises to take command. This is the exact moment when the seeds of tomorrow's reality are planted within you. What you might not realize is that your subconscious doesn't argue or judge. Unlike your waking mind that questions and doubts, your subconscious accepts whatever is impressed upon it and faithfully shapes your external world to mirror these impressions. Stay with me until the end, because this understanding alone could completely transform your financial destiny. Think about it. The outer world you experience each day isn't separate from you. It's actually the shadow cast by your inner state, your bank account, your income, your financial opportunities. All of these are reflections of what's been programmed into your subconscious mind. Your world is literally created from within. What you impress upon your mind in those final moments before sleep becomes the blueprint for the reality you'll wake up to. Most people drift off while rehearsing worries about bills, debts, and financial struggles, unknowingly programming more of the same for tomorrow. What you're about to discover might surprise you, because Florence Scovel Shinn's approach turns this entire process around. Imagine falling asleep tonight feeling genuinely wealthy, secure, and abundant. Not pretending, not hoping, but actually experiencing the feeling of prosperity as you drift into slumber. The secret lies in understanding how to access this powerful gateway to the subconscious, and what exact words to whisper that will open the treasury of universal abundance. If these prosperity principles resonated with you, join our community by subscribing. We explore these hidden truths that transform financial reality from the inside out. Click subscribe and become part of this abundance journey. The true hidden power lies in those final moments just before your consciousness slips away. Think of it as the sacred threshold, that magical space where your daily thoughts surrender to the wisdom of the night. What most people don't realize is that the very last thought that crosses your mind before you surrender to sleep is quite literally the seed planted in your subconscious garden. This final impression becomes the sealed instruction that your deeper mind processes while your body rests. It's a profound transformation that happens beneath the surface of awareness. When you fall asleep replaying bills you can't pay or financial stress you're facing, you're essentially planting seeds of lack and limitation. Your subconscious receives these impressions not as temporary concerns, but as commands to manifest more of the same. This hidden truth explains why so many wake up to the same financial struggles day after day. They've been programming scarcity into their subconscious every single night. But here's where your journey to abundance takes a remarkable turn. What if instead of rehearsing worry, you deliberately chose to drift off feeling the deep security and joy of abundance? What if your final thought before sleep was one of prosperity, gratitude, and wealth? The impact would be immediate and profound. You would be planting the seeds of prosperity that must, by universal law, grow into your waking reality. This revelation changes everything about how we understand sleep. Far from being an empty pause between days, a mere battery recharge for your body, sleep is actually the most powerful classroom where your subconscious receives its orders. Ancient wisdom has always known this. As Scripture beautifully puts it, when deep sleep falleth upon men, then he openeth their ears and sealeth their instruction. Your subconscious mind is most receptive when your conscious mind steps aside, making these pre-sleep moments your most potent creative opportunity. Consider the decisions you make just before bed. Most people unconsciously choose to review their problems, scroll through social media, watch disturbing news, or worry about tomorrow. These seemingly innocent bedtime habits are actually programming sessions for your subconscious mind. What you feel as you drift off becomes your instruction to the universe, your request for more of the same. Now, I want to go even deeper into this mindset shift. The remarkable power of your subconscious doesn't discriminate between what you want and what you don't want. It simply accepts whatever you impress upon it with feeling. Like fertile soil, it will grow weeds or roses with equal dedication depending on what you plant. This is why Florence Scovel Shinn emphasized that the feeling beneath your words carries the real creative power. Imagine for a moment what it would feel like to be completely financially free. Not just having money, but being liberated from financial worry entirely. Picture yourself paying bills with ease, giving generously without concern, and moving through the world with the quiet dignity of someone who knows abundance is their natural state. This isn't daydreaming. It's actually precise programming of your subconscious mind when done properly. Most of us have been taught to approach prosperity from a place of effort, to push, strive, and struggle our way to wealth. But this behind-the-scenes revelation flips that approach on its head. The true path to abundance lies not in exhausting effort, but in aligning your subconscious programming through the gateway of sleep. When you understand this principle, you realize wealth creation happens first in consciousness, then in experience. The beauty of this approach is its simplicity. You don't need special equipment, expensive courses, or complicated techniques. You simply need to become mindful of those precious moments before sleep and use them deliberately. This small shift in how you end each day can completely transform your financial reality over time. It's not about positive thinking. It's about understanding and using the actual mechanics of consciousness to your advantage. If something within you is resonating with this wisdom, write in the comments, "I'm reclaiming my sleep power." Now, let's explore exactly what happens in your mind during this crucial transition from wakefulness to sleep. As we journey deeper into this revelation, we discover a fascinating dynamic between our days and our nights. Most people have been taught that success comes through daytime effort, working harder, staying longer, pushing further. And while I would never discount the value of diligent work, there's a profound truth that most success gurus completely miss. By day, you may labor, but by night you plant. This shift in perspective is transformative. Your conscious efforts during waking hours certainly matter, but it's what you plant in your mind during sleep that ultimately governs what you harvest each day. Think about that for a moment. The seeds you sow in those quiet moments before drifting off will determine your harvest far more powerfully than all your daytime striving. The night truly belongs to creation. It's in this sacred darkness that the seeds of tomorrow are sown in, the fertile soil of your subconscious mind. This explains why some people work themselves to exhaustion yet see minimal results, while others seem to effortlessly attract abundance. The difference lies not in their visible efforts, but in their invisible planting. Consider farmers throughout history. They understood that no matter how much they walked their fields during daylight, how much they worried, planned, or hoped, none of that would grow crops. Growth happened in the darkness, beneath the soil, while they slept. Your financial abundance follows the same natural law. The growth happens in the darkness of your subconscious, while your conscious mind rests. But the true mindset breakthrough comes when you understand the extraordinary nature of your subconscious mind. Unlike your conscious mind, which constantly analyzes, judges, and argues with new information, your subconscious operates on an entirely different principle. It does not judge, choose, or argue. It only creates. This revelation changes everything about how we approach manifestation. Whatever impression is deeply planted within your subconscious will inevitably harden into fact in your external world. This is an unchanging, impartial law that operates with mathematical precision. Your subconscious faithfully brings forth whatever you plant within it, whether that's poverty or prosperity. It has no ability to filter or discriminate. It simply accepts and multiplies. Ready for more life-changing prosperity teachings? Subscribe to continue exploring these powerful consciousness techniques that have helped thousands create financial freedom. Join our community by clicking subscribe below. Think of your subconscious like the soil in a garden. Soil doesn't argue with the seeds you plant. It doesn't say, "I'll grow roses but not weeds," or "I'll grow wealth but not poverty." The soil simply accepts whatever seed is impressed upon it and multiplies it. The decisions happen at the planting stage, not in the growing stage. Behind the scenes of conscious awareness, your subconscious is working tirelessly to manifest whatever impression you've given it. If you've impressed poverty, lack, and limitation through your nighttime thoughts, it will faithfully create those conditions. If you've impressed wealth, abundance, and prosperity, it will just as faithfully create those instead. This is why Florence Scovel Shinn emphasized that every financial circumstance in your life right now, whether positive or negative, is the harvest of seeds you've previously planted. Nothing happens by chance. Your current financial reality is the perfect reflection of your subconscious programming. The beautiful revelation here is that you can change that programming starting tonight. The decision you make about what thoughts to entertain as you drift off to sleep isn't just a minor choice. It's perhaps the most consequential choice you make each day. It's the difference between planting weeds or roses in the garden of your life. And just as no farmer would deliberately plant weeds and expect roses, we cannot plant thoughts of lack before sleep and expect to harvest abundance. What makes this approach to wealth creation so powerful is its simplicity. You don't need to overhaul your entire life or make dramatic external changes. You simply need to become intentional about those final moments before sleep. This small shift in your nightly routine can trigger a complete transformation in your financial reality over time. I find it fascinating how this ancient wisdom aligns perfectly with modern neuroscience. Research shows that the brain processes and consolidates information during sleep, strengthening neural pathways formed during the day. When you deliberately impress wealth consciousness before sleep, you're literally rewiring your brain to recognize and create abundance. The journey to financial freedom begins not with changing your external circumstances, but with changing your internal programming. When you understand this principle, you move from being at the mercy of external conditions to becoming the conscious creator of your reality. If you're beginning to see how powerful these nighttime moments truly are, write in the comments, "I plant prosperity seeds." Now, let's examine what happens when we declare wealth versus when we merely request it. One of the most profound insights in understanding the language of manifestation comes from observing nature itself. Think about the earth beneath our feet, that rich, dark soil that cradles the future of every garden. Does the soil ever discriminate between the seeds placed within it? Does it ever say, "I don't think you deserve a rose, so I'll give you a weed instead"? Of course not. The earth accepts whatever seed the farmer plants without judgment, without preference, without discrimination. Your subconscious mind operates on precisely the same principle. It's the fertile soil of your inner garden, and it accepts and multiplies whatever is impressed upon it. This is the hidden truth behind why some people seem trapped in cycles of limitation, while others experience ever-expanding abundance. If you scatter seeds of fear, fear will grow in your life. If you scatter seeds of worry, worry will multiply. If you scatter seeds of lack, lack will become your harvest. But, and this is where your journey to transformation truly begins, If you scatter seeds of abundance, abundance will grow. Your subconscious has no choice but to bring forth after its kind. This revelation shifts us from victims of circumstance to conscious creators of our reality. Just as a farmer chooses carefully what to plant, knowing the harvest is determined at the moment of planting, you can choose carefully what thoughts to impress upon your subconscious before sleep. The decision happens at the planting stage, not in the growing stage. But here's where most people attempting manifestation go wrong, and it's a crucial insight that Florence Scovel Shinn understood with remarkable clarity. The subconscious doesn't actually hear the sound of your voice. It doesn't respond to empty words or hollow affirmations. What it receives is the vibration of your conviction, the feeling beneath your words. Think about this revelation for a moment. You can repeat, "I am wealthy," 1,000 times. But if those words are accompanied by a feeling of emptiness, doubt, or disbelief, they will fail to take root. The subconscious isn't listening to your words. It's feeling your emotional state. It's registering the depth of your conviction. This is why mechanical affirmations often produce disappointing results. They're missing the vital ingredient of authentic feeling. When I work with clients on this journey to abundance, I often ask them, what would wealth actually feel like in your body? Not what would you buy, not what would you do, but how would prosperity feel as a visceral, embodied experience? Most people have never considered this question. They've thought about the external trappings of wealth, but not the internal sensation of abundance. Would your breathing be deeper? Would your shoulders relax? Would there be a sensation of warmth in your chest? Would you feel lighter, more expansive? These feelings, these authentic bodily sensations of prosperity, are what the subconscious actually registers and responds to. When your affirmations are clothed in these genuine feelings, they take root in the fertile soil of your subconscious and inevitably manifest in your external reality. This is why visualization practices that engage all your senses are so powerful. When you can see your prosperity, feel your abundance, hear the sounds of your success, even smell and taste the reality you're creating, you're speaking the native language of the subconscious. You're planting seeds wrapped in the rich soil of genuine feeling. I've witnessed remarkable transformations when people grasp this principle. One client, Sarah, had been repeating prosperity affirmations for years with minimal results. When I guided her to focus on the feeling of abundance, the deep sense of security, ease, and joy that financial freedom would bring, everything shifted. Within months, unexpected opportunities began appearing in her life. A forgotten investment paid off. A promotion materialized. A family inheritance arrived. The bridge between her inner state and outer reality had been built through the power of feeling. The challenge for many of us is that we've been conditioned to approach life from the outside in. We believe that once we have the money, then we'll feel abundant. Once we achieve the success, then we'll feel worthy. But the revolutionary insight here is that manifestation works in precisely the opposite direction. We must first generate the feeling, and then the external circumstances will reorganize themselves to match that inner state. This means that the gateway to your wealth isn't some distant point in the future. It's available right now, in this moment, through your capacity to generate authentic feelings of abundance. Your emotional state isn't just a reaction to your circumstances. It's actually the creative force that shapes them. When you truly grasp this principle, you hold the master key to consciously creating your reality. If this perspective on feeling as the true secret to manifestation resonates with you, write in the comments. Feeling creates reality. Now, let's discover how the subconscious works tirelessly on your behalf once it receives your properly impressed command. One of the most remarkable revelations about the subconscious mind is its tireless dedication to manifesting whatever impression it receives. Unlike your conscious mind, which grows weary and needs rest, your subconscious operates 24 hours a day without fatigue or hesitation. Once it accepts an impression, especially one clothed in genuine feeling, it begins working immediately to bring that impression into physical reality. Think about the profound implications of this truth. While you sleep, while you go about your day, while you focus on other matters entirely. Your subconscious is working behind the scenes like a master weaver. It moves people, bends circumstances, opens doors, arranges seemingly coincidental encounters, all weaving together countless threads of experience to manifest the reality you've impressed upon it. I've witnessed this process unfold in ways that seem almost miraculous. One client impressed the feeling of abundant opportunity before sleep for several consecutive nights. Within weeks, she received 3 unexpected job offers, including one from a company she hadn't even applied to. A chance meeting with a stranger at a coffee shop led to a business partnership that transformed her financial situation. These weren't random coincidences, but the invisible orchestration of her subconscious mind responding to the seed she had planted. The beautiful revelation here is that you don't need to micromanage the how. Most people exhaust themselves trying to figure out exactly how their desires will manifest, insisting on controlling every step of the process. But the subconscious operates with an intelligence far beyond our conscious calculations. It knows paths and possibilities invisible to your waking mind. Your role isn't to dictate the how, it's simply to impress the what with feeling, then trust the process. This surrender to the wisdom of the subconscious represents a profound shift in how we approach manifestation. It's a journey from the illusion of control to the freedom of trust, from exhausting effort to effortless creation. When you truly grasp this principle, manifestation becomes less like pushing a boulder uphill and more like planting a seed and allowing nature to do what it does perfectly. However, this same tireless dedication works in both directions, which leads us to a crucial warning about what Florence Scovel Shinn called negative sleep. Many people unwittingly sabotage their prosperity by the thoughts they take into sleep each night. They fall asleep rehearsing their bills, mentally calculating their debts, and worrying about financial obligations. This nightly ritual, which seems so natural and even responsible, is actually programming the subconscious for continued lack. When you drift off to sleep with thoughts of financial stress, you're literally planting seeds of scarcity in the fertile soil of your subconscious. Then when morning comes and you find yourself facing the same financial struggles, you wonder why nothing changes. It's a hidden pattern that keeps countless people trapped in cycles of lack despite their best daytime efforts to improve their situation. What you take into sleep becomes the seed of tomorrow's harvest. This insight transforms how we approach those precious moments before surrendering to slumber. Most people treat the transition to sleep casually, allowing whatever thoughts happen to be circulating to accompany them into sleep. They scroll through social media, watch anxiety-inducing news, review problems, or worry about tomorrow. Yet these seemingly innocent habits are actually powerful programming sessions for your subconscious. I recall working with Michael, an entrepreneur who was constantly stressed about cash flow despite working 70-hour weeks. Every night he would review his financial challenges before sleep, mentally rehearsing all the bills that needed paying. This practice, which he believed was responsible financial planning, was actually sabotaging his success. When he began consciously impressing images and feelings of abundant cash flow before sleep instead, his business began to transform. New clients appeared, payment issues resolved, and unexpected opportunities for growth emerged. The only thing he had changed was what he took into sleep. This understanding makes the moments before sleep sacred. They're not just a transition between activities, but the gateway to creating tomorrow's reality. Imagine if farmers planted their crops while blindfolded, randomly scattering whatever seeds happen to be in their pockets without looking. That's essentially what most people do with their pre-sleep thoughts. And then they're surprised when their life's garden grows chaotically. The journey to wealth. Consciousness requires becoming deliberate about these pivotal moments. It means treating the transition to sleep with the same care and intention that a master farmer would approach the spring planting, selecting only the finest seeds of abundance, prosperity, and financial freedom. If you're recognizing patterns of negative sleep in your own life, write in the comments, "I'm reclaiming my sleep sanctuary." Now let's explore the fascinating cycle of creation that happens every 24 hours. Through the death and rebirth process of sleep. What if I told you that you experience death and resurrection every single day of your life? This isn't some esoteric metaphor. It's a profound reality that Florence Scovel Shinn understood with remarkable clarity. Every night when you close your eyes and surrender to sleep, you experience a symbolic death. Your conscious mind dims, your awareness of the external world fades, and you descend into the mysterious realm of unconsciousness. Then, every morning when you open your eyes, you experience a symbolic resurrection. Consciousness returns, awareness rekindles, and you rise to meet a new day. This 24-hour cycle of death and rebirth isn't just poetic language. It's a literal description of the consciousness journey you undertake every single day. And here's where this understanding becomes truly transformative. The state you die in each night determines the state you're resurrected in each morning. If you surrender to sleep in a state of poverty consciousness, worrying about bills, feeling lack, rehearsing financial struggles, you will inevitably rise in that same poverty consciousness. But if you surrender to sleep in a state of wealth consciousness, feeling abundant, secure, and prosperous, you will rise in that same wealth consciousness. This revelation completely transforms how we understand both sleep and manifestation. Most spiritual traditions speak of death and rebirth as distant events that happen once in a lifetime. But Florence Scovel Shinn recognized that we're given a miniature version of this profound journey every 24 hours. Each night is an opportunity to die to the old self, the self plagued by financial worry and limitation. Each morning is an opportunity to be resurrected as the new self, the self clothed in abundance and prosperity. Think about the implications of this understanding. Most people approach each day as a continuation of the one before, carrying forward the same limitations, the same financial struggles, the same mindset. They don't realize that sleep offers a natural reset point, a chance to shed the old identity and claim a new one. When you grasp this principle, you understand why your state of consciousness as you drift off to sleep is perhaps the most crucial factor in your financial transformation. The breakthrough moment in this journey comes when you recognize the sacred nature of your final thought before sleep. This isn't just a random echo of your day or a casual mental wandering. It's the very seal upon your subconscious, the decree that shapes tomorrow's reality. Imagine a king in ancient times pressing his royal seal into hot wax on an important decree. That seal made the document official, binding, and authoritative. Your final thought before sleep functions in precisely the same way. It's the royal seal pressed upon the parchment of your subconscious mind. Or think of it like a sculptor making their final definitive stroke on a masterpiece. That last touch isn't casual or accidental. It's deliberate, purposeful, and transformative. Your last thought before surrendering to sleep has that same definitive quality. Once impressed, it's carried into the depths of your subconscious to grow and eventually harden into fact in your external world. This understanding gives a sacred quality to those drowsy moments before sleep claims you. Most people drift off haphazardly, letting whatever thoughts happen to be circulating accompany them into the realm of sleep. But those who understand this principle approach this transition with reverence and intention, knowing they're literally sealing tomorrow's experience. I've witnessed remarkable transformations when people begin treating those pre-sleep moments as sacred. Rebecca, a single mother struggling with constant financial pressure, began consciously impressing thoughts and feelings of abundance as she drifted off to sleep. She would imagine her bills paid, her bank account comfortable, and her financial future secure, feeling the relief and gratitude those conditions would bring. Within 3 months, she received an unexpected promotion, a tax refund she hadn't anticipated, and an opportunity to refinance her mortgage at a significantly lower rate. The external bridge of incidents formed naturally once she changed the internal seed she was planting each night. The revelation here is that your journey to wealth doesn't require changing everything about your external life. You don't need a new job, a different education, or special connections. though those things might naturally come as a result. The essential change happens in those precious moments before sleep, when you consciously choose the state you'll die in, knowing it determines the state you'll be resurrected in come morning. This isn't about positive thinking or wishful dreaming. It's about understanding and working with the actual mechanics of consciousness. When you impress wealth upon your subconscious as you drift off to sleep, you're not hoping for a better future. You're actually programming the operating system of your reality. The final thought before sleep isn't just important, it's decisive. It's the hinge upon which your financial destiny turns. If you're starting to recognize the profound impact of these nightly transitions in your own life, write in the comments, "I die wealthy each night." Now, let's examine why sleep is not merely symbolic, death, but also a form of symbolic entrance into the temple of creation. The metaphysical significance of night and day extends far beyond mere astronomical events. In ancient wisdom traditions, the night was never understood as simply the turning of the earth away from the sun. It represented something far more profound. Night has always symbolized the mystical realm of death, while morning stands as the eternal archetype of resurrection. This symbolic understanding isn't abstract philosophy. It's a practical key to wealth manifestation. Consider what happens each night as you surrender to sleep. Your conscious awareness dims, your perception of the external world fades, and you descend into a realm beyond ordinary understanding. This journey mirrors the mystical death described in spiritual traditions worldwide. You symbolically die to the old self, with all its limitations, worries, and struggles. You enter the silence of the tomb, the quiet darkness where transformation occurs, unseen. Then, as morning arrives and you open your eyes, something miraculous happens. Consciousness returns, awareness reawakens, and you rise as a new person, quite literally clothed in the impressions you carried across the threshold of midnight. This daily resurrection isn't merely poetic language. It's a practical description of the consciousness journey you undertake every 24 hours. The revelation that transforms financial manifestation is understanding that you're resurrected daily, according to your last assumption before sleep. If you surrender to sleep rehearsing lack, you rise to experience more lack. If you surrender in a state of wealth consciousness, you rise to experience increasing abundance. This insight explains why so many people remain trapped in financial struggles despite their best efforts. They're being resurrected each morning in the same limiting state they died in the night before. Florence Scovel Shinn recognized this pattern with remarkable clarity when she taught that weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. If joy was the seed planted before sleep, the morning is always the child of the evening, and you are its parent through the impressions you give to your subconscious mind. This understanding elevates sleep from mere biological rest to a sacred opportunity for transformation. Each night offers you the chance to die to financial struggle and be reborn to abundance. Each morning presents the opportunity to walk in a new financial identity, not because your external circumstances changed overnight, but because you allowed yourself to die to the old self and be resurrected as the new. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by examining the most powerful creative force available to you, the two simple words, I am. When Moses stood before the burning bush and asked for the name of the divine presence speaking to him, the reply was both simple and profound. I am that I am. Tell them I am has sent you. This revelation wasn't introducing some distant deity enthroned in the heavens, but rather unveiling the creative power that resides within all consciousness. Every time you say I am, you're invoking this creative power, the very name of the divine within you. These two simple words represent pure being, consciousness itself, the eternal presence that creates through declaration. And whatever follows I am becomes the reality you inhabit. This is why your I am statements are literally the most powerful creative forces in your universe. When you declare I am poor or I am struggling financially, you're taking the divine name in vain, clothing God in garments of lack. But when you declare I am wealthy, You're hallowing the name, clothing the divine in riches. The subconscious must then bring forth the reality that matches this declaration. This insight completely transforms how we approach financial affirmations. They aren't wishful thinking or psychological tricks. They're actually invoking the creative power of the universe itself. Think about the profound shift this understanding creates in your wealth journey. Most people approach prosperity by saying, "I want to be wealthy," or "I hope to have abundance someday." But wanting and hoping place wealth outside yourself in some distant future. When you declare, "I am wealthy," you're claiming it as your present identity, your current state of being. You're not reaching for prosperity, you're operating from within it. I've witnessed remarkable transformations when people grasp the power of these two words. Jonathan, a client who had struggled financially for decades, began consciously using "I am wealthy" as his final declaration before sleep. At first, it felt false, even uncomfortable. But as he persisted, something shifted. The declaration began to feel natural, and external circumstances rearranged themselves accordingly. An unexpected business opportunity appeared. A property he'd been trying to sell for years finally found the perfect buyer. A debt was forgiven. The bridge between his inner declaration and outer reality formed naturally once he understood the creative power of "I am." The revelation here isn't just that words have power, it's that certain words carry the very essence of creation itself. When you say "I am," you're not merely describing your current conditions, you're actually decreeing what shall be. You're speaking as the creative principle within you. This is why Scripture advises, "Let the weak say, 'I am strong.'" Not as positive thinking, but because the declaration itself begins the transformation. If you're beginning to recognize the creative power of your "I am" statements, type in the comments, "I am the power." Now let's examine why taking the name "I am" in vain might be the true meaning behind one of our oldest spiritual commandments. One of the most profound spiritual commandments we've inherited from ancient wisdom is, "Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain." For centuries, this has been interpreted as a warning against cursing or using divine names disrespectfully. But Florence Scovel Shinn unveiled a far deeper meaning that transforms our entire approach to manifestation. The true essence of this commandment isn't about casual profanity at all. It's about how we use the divine creative name "I am" in our daily declarations. When you understand that "I am" is the actual name of the creative principle, within you, you realize that every time you say, "I am poor," "I am struggling," "I am broke," or "I am in debt," you're literally taking the Lord's name in vain. You're joining the divine creative power to limitation, lack, and scarcity. In the truest sense, this is the actual blasphemy, not some casual expletive, but the misuse of your creative power to manifest what you don't want. Think about the revelation this brings to your everyday language. Most people scatter "I am" statements throughout their day without any awareness of their creative power. "I am tired. I am sick. I am overwhelmed. I am afraid I can't pay these bills." Each declaration isn't merely describing a temporary condition. It's actually a creative command to your subconscious to bring forth more of the same. The subconscious faithfully fulfills whatever follows "I am" because it can do nothing else. This understanding completely transforms our approach to wealth creation. When you declare, "I am wealthy," you're not engaging in wishful thinking or positive psychology. You're actually using the divine creative name properly. You're hallowing the name by clothing it in abundance rather than lack. And because the subconscious must create whatever follows "I am," this proper use of the divine name becomes the seed of your prosperity. The journey to financial freedom begins with guarding your "I am" statements with the same reverence you would guard a sacred altar. This vigilance isn't about perfectionism or self-criticism. It's about understanding the extraordinary creative power you wield with every declaration. When you grasp this principle, You naturally become selective about what you join to I am, knowing it will inevitably manifest in your experience. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by examining why traditional approaches to prayer and manifestation often fail to produce results. Most people approach wealth creation through requests, asking, pleading, and begging for financial improvement. Please God, send me money. Universe, I need financial help. I pray for abundance to come into my life. This approach seems natural and even humble, but it contains a hidden sabotage mechanism that guarantees failure. The revolutionary insight Florence Scovel Shinn revealed is that requests are actually confessions of lack. When you ask for wealth, you're stating, I don't have it. When you beg for money, you're declaring, I am without. When you plead for abundance, you're affirming its absence in your life. And because the subconscious creates based on what you assume to be true, when you request prosperity, you're actually impressing poverty upon your creative mind. This insight explains why so many earnest prayers go unanswered. It's not that some external deity is ignoring you or testing you. It's that the very nature of requesting reinforces the lack you're trying to overcome. The subconscious doesn't understand, please give me. It only understands, I am. When your prayer takes the form of asking for what you don't have, you're programming your creative mind to perpetuate that very absence. The transformation in manifestation comes when you shift from requesting to declaring. Instead of saying, I want wealth, or please send me money, you simply declare, I am wealthy. Instead of begging for financial freedom, you claim it as your present identity. I am financially free. This isn't pretending or lying to yourself. It's speaking the language of creation, which always operates from the fulfilled state rather than the state of desire. I've witnessed remarkable shifts when people grasp this distinction. Maria had been praying for financial improvement for years with minimal results. When she understood that her requests were actually reinforcing lack, she completely transformed her approach. Instead of asking for money, she began declaring, I am abundant, as her final thought before sleep. Instead of pleading for bills to be paid, she fell asleep feeling the relief of all obligations already met. Within months, unexpected sources of income appeared. A long-standing debt was forgiven, and her financial situation transformed completely. This revelation brings a profound shift in consciousness. You realize that you've never been separate from abundance. You've simply been programming your creative mind incorrectly through requests rather than declarations. The divine isn't withholding prosperity from you. You've been innocently programming lack through the very language of your prayers. When you understand this principle, you stop looking outward for salvation and recognize the creative power that has been within you all along. If this distinction between requesting and declaring has illuminated something for you, write in the comments, I declare, I don't request. Now, let's explore how to speak the wealth code at the most powerful moment, those precious seconds before you surrender to sleep. The revolutionary insight that transforms our entire approach to prayer comes from understanding its true nature. For centuries, prayer has been misunderstood as a form of petition, asking, requesting, beseeching some external power to grant our wishes if it deems us worthy. But Florence Scovel Shinn unveiled a profound truth that completely reframes this practice. True prayer isn't asking for what you don't have. It's assuming the feeling of what you already possess. When you grasp this principle, you experience a paradigm shift in your manifestation practice. Instead of approaching the divine as a beggar, hoping for crumbs from the table, you recognize yourself as already one with the creative principle. You're not trying to persuade some distant deity to intervene in your financial affairs. You're speaking as the I am within you, the eternal presence that creates through assumption. This understanding transforms prayer from a position of separation to a recognition of union. You're not reaching across some vast cosmic divide, hoping your words will be heard. You're speaking from the center of creation itself, declaring what is already yours in consciousness. This is why Jesus taught, "When you pray, believe that you have received, and you shall have." The emphasis wasn't on future fulfillment, but on present possession in consciousness. Think about the profound journey this insight initiates. Most people approach prosperity through the mindset of someday. Someday they'll have enough. Someday their finances will improve. Someday abundance will be theirs. But the creative principle doesn't understand someday. It only knows now. When you pray correctly, you're not pushing your good into some distant future. You're claiming it in the eternal present moment of consciousness. I've witnessed remarkable transformations when people grasp this distinction. David had spent years approaching wealth through traditional prayer methods, constantly asking for financial improvement with minimal results. When he understood that true prayer is assumption, he completely shifted his approach. Instead of asking for wealth, he began assuming the feeling of already being financially secure. Instead of beseeching for abundance, he lived from the consciousness of already being abundant. The external bridge of incidents formed naturally once he aligned with this principle, bringing unexpected opportunities, fortuitous connections, and financial improvements that had eluded him for years. The revelation here isn't that your words have magical power. It's that assumption is the actual creative principle of the universe. When you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you're not engaging in fantasy. You're participating in the fundamental creative process that shapes reality itself. This is why Scripture says, "Call those things that be not as though they were." Not as wishful thinking, but because assumption is how creation actually occurs. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring the most powerful moment to impress this assumption upon your subconscious mind. While your creative faculty is always operational, there are certain gateways when the subconscious is particularly receptive to new programming. And none is more powerful than those twilight moments just before you surrender to sleep. In those precious seconds when you're drifting between wakefulness and sleep, something remarkable happens in your consciousness. The analytical, critical conscious mind begins to relax its vigilant guard. The voice of doubt and skepticism grows quiet. The constant chatter of everyday concerns begins to fade. And in that holy silence, the subconscious mind stands wide open and receptive, like fertile soil ready for planting. This twilight state, what some traditions call the hypnagogic state, represents a sacred doorway between worlds. It's not quite sleep, not quite wakefulness, but a liminal space where the barriers between the conscious and subconscious, you're aligning with the fundamental nature of a universe characterized by infinite supply. You're accepting rather than rejecting your natural inheritance as a creative being. I worked with Michael, who carried deep guilt about financial success due to his religious upbringing. Though he consciously desired prosperity, at a deeper level, he believed wealth would corrupt his character and compromise his spiritual values. His transformation began when he recognized that abundance itself is morally neutral. It's the consciousness behind wealth that determines its spiritual quality. When prosperity flows from a consciousness of gratitude, generosity, and service, it becomes not an obstacle to spiritual growth, but a vehicle for greater contribution. The journey to abundance requires examining and releasing these hidden guilt patterns. Question the origins of these beliefs. Ask yourself, who told me wealth was wrong? Was their perspective complete? Does this belief serve my highest good and the good of others? As you cast off shame about prosperity, you remove one of the most persistent barriers to its manifestation in your experience. This liberation process doesn't happen intellectually alone. It requires emotional release as well. Feel the freedom of knowing abundance is your natural state. Experience the relief of recognizing you can be both prosperous and spiritual, wealthy and ethical, abundant and giving. Let these new emotional associations replace the old guilt patterns until declaring, "I am wealthy," carries no trace of shame or conflict. If you're recognizing how guilt or shame might be sabotaging your prosperity journey, write in the comments, "I release wealth guilt." Now, let's explore the profound distinction between being a spectator of wealth and becoming an actor, fully embodying the prosperous state you desire to manifest. One of the most transformative insights Florence Scovel Shinn revealed about manifestation is the profound distinction between thinking of wealth and thinking from wealth. Most people spend their entire lives in the spectator position, observing prosperity from a distance, admiring it in others, hoping someday to experience it themselves. They think about wealth, dream about wealth, learn about wealth, but always from the perspective of someone standing outside looking in. This spectator consciousness creates an invisible but impenetrable barrier between you and the very abundance you seek to experience. The breakthrough in your prosperity journey occurs when you make the courageous shift from spectator to actor. Think about what happens in theater. The spectator sits in the audience, observing the drama unfold. They may be emotionally moved by what they see. They may learn valuable lessons from the story, but they remain fundamentally separate from the action. The actor, by contrast, steps onto the stage and embodies the character so completely that for the duration of the performance, they are that character, feeling what the character feels, thinking what the character thinks, experiencing life through the character's perspective. This metaphor perfectly illustrates the consciousness shift required for successful manifestation. To think from wealth means stepping onto the stage of your imagination and assuming the role of a wealthy person so completely that you experience the world through that lens. You're not merely visualizing prosperity as a distant possibility. You're inhabiting that state as your present reality in consciousness. This isn't pretending or self-deception. It's understanding how reality is actually created from the inside out. The revelation that changes everything is recognizing that manifestation doesn't require you to figure out how to become wealthy. It requires you to assume the consciousness of being wealthy before any external evidence appears. Don't admire wealth from a distance or push it into some future state you hope to reach. Step into that consciousness now through the powerful gateway of imagination. Declare, "I am wealthy," not as a hopeful affirmation, but as the recognition of an identity you're choosing to embody fully, walking in its dignity and certainty before a single coin has touched your hand. I've witnessed remarkable transformations when people grasp this distinction. Amanda had spent years studying prosperity principles, but always positioned herself as someone seeking wealth rather than embodying it. Her pivotal moment came when she realized she had been perpetually placing herself in the audience rather than on the stage. When she shifted from thinking about wealth to thinking from wealth, assuming the mindset, emotions, and inner experience of already being prosperous, everything changed. The very opportunities she had been seeking began appearing naturally, as if they had been waiting for her to step into this new identity. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring one of the most profound yet practical aspects of Florence Scovel Shinn's teaching: understanding sleep as a daily death and resurrection cycle. This perspective transforms how we approach each night and morning in our manifestation journey. Every 24 hours, you experience in miniature the great spiritual mystery of death and rebirth. When you close your eyes and surrender to sleep, your conscious awareness temporarily dies. You lose connection with the external world. Your analytical mind goes silent. Your sense of separate identity dissolves into the darkness of unconsciousness. Then, when morning comes and you open your eyes, you experience a literal resurrection. Consciousness returns, identity reestablishes itself, awareness of the world rekindles. This daily cycle offers you a sacred opportunity that most people completely overlook. Each night you can choose to die to one state of consciousness, and each morning rise to another. If you surrender to sleep, rehearsing lack, counting bills, feeling financial pressure, you will inevitably rise to that same consciousness when you wake. But if you surrender to sleep in the consciousness of abundance, feeling prosperity as your natural state, you will rise to that consciousness when morning comes. This understanding transforms sleep from mere physical rest into a powerful spiritual practice. Each night, becomes a decision point. Will you die to poverty consciousness and be reborn to wealth consciousness? Or will you continue carrying limitation from one day to the next? The choice is yours, but it must be made consciously and deliberately. This is why the moments before sleep are sacred. You are literally choosing the consciousness you'll be resurrected to in the morning. Consider the profound journey of transformation Richard experienced through this practice. After years of financial struggle, he began approaching each night as an opportunity to shed his old identity of lack. As he drifted toward sleep, he would consciously release the day's financial concerns, letting the worried self symbolically die. In its place, he would assume the consciousness of abundance, feeling wealthy, secure, and prosperous as his final state before surrendering to sleep. Each morning, he would consciously rise in that same abundance consciousness, refusing to immediately reconnect with yesterday's limitations. At first, this practice seemed to have no external effect, but as he persisted, something remarkable began happening. His decisions throughout the day naturally aligned with prosperity rather than lack. Opportunities he would previously have missed became visible to him. Resources he hadn't recognized became available. The bridge of incidents formed not through magical thinking, but through the natural expression of his transformed consciousness. The revelation that makes this practice so powerful is understanding that each night truly offers you a fresh beginning, a chance to release the accumulation of past limitations and choose a new state of being. You're not carrying yesterday's consciousness forward by default. You're actively choosing what consciousness to carry into tomorrow. This choice happens primarily in those precious moments before sleep claims you, which is why guarding that threshold with awareness becomes one of the most consequential decisions of your manifestation journey. The beautiful paradox here is that true transformation doesn't require changing everything about your external life. You don't need new circumstances to choose a new consciousness. Each night, regardless of what happened during the day, you have the opportunity to die to the old self and allow a new self to be born. This daily rebirth cycle is the most accessible pathway to profound transformation, available to everyone regardless of current circumstances. If this perspective on sleep as a doorway to transformation resonates with you, write in the comments, "I choose conscious rebirth." Now, let's examine how to properly prepare your inner sanctuary before speaking the wealth code that will reshape your financial reality. The moments before sleep offer a sacred opportunity that most people completely overlook in their manifestation journey. In our busy modern lives, bedtime often becomes a rushed afterthought, quickly scrolling through social media, worrying about tomorrow's tasks, or falling exhausted into unconsciousness. Florence Scovel Shinn revealed that this approach fundamentally misunderstands the profound significance of this transition. The time before sleep isn't merely a practical necessity, but a holy threshold, a gateway to the creative realm of the subconscious. When approaching sleep with prosperity consciousness, don't rush into bed with racing thoughts and scattered energy. Instead, withdraw from the world as though entering a sacred temple, for indeed you are. Your bedroom becomes the outer courtyard, your bed the altar, your silence the sanctuary, and your imagination the holy of holies where creation itself begins. This isn't poetic metaphor, but practical instruction. The quality of consciousness you bring to this threshold directly determines what seeds take root in your subconscious garden. Begin this sacred practice by stilling the body. Let your physical form grow heavy and relaxed, surrendering to the surface beneath you. Allow tension to melt from your muscles, starting at your head and moving gradually down to your feet. This physical stillness creates the foundation for mental stillness, as body and mind are intimately connected in this preparation process. Next, slow and deepen your breathing, not through forced control, but through gentle awareness. Simply notice your breath finding its natural rhythm, growing quieter and more peaceful with each cycle. This breath awareness naturally draws you inward, away from the external world and toward the inner sanctuary where manifestation begins. As thoughts arise, and they will, simply allow them to pass without engaging, chasing, or resisting them. Imagine them as clouds drifting across the sky of your awareness, neither pushed away nor held onto. This gentle detachment creates the mental clarity necessary for effective manifestation. Only when the surface of your mind grows still, like a lake without ripples, can the prosperity seed sink deeply into the subconscious soil. I recall working with Claire, who had diligently repeated prosperity affirmations for months without results. When I asked about her practice, she revealed she would hurriedly say her wealth declarations while checking her phone, planning tomorrow, or already half asleep. Her breakthrough came when she began treating these moments as sacred, creating a deliberate pre-sleep ritual that prepared her consciousness to truly receive the prosperity code. Within weeks, she noticed subtle shifts in her financial awareness and opportunities that eventually blossomed into significant abundance. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring a powerful technique that addresses one of the most persistent barriers to financial manifestation: the haunting memories of past struggles. Even as you plant new seeds of prosperity in your consciousness, memories of previous financial difficulties often rise to sabotage your efforts. These aren't merely neutral recollections. They're emotionally charged experiences that continue sending ripples of lack consciousness into your present and future. Florence Scovel Shinn unveiled a revolutionary approach to these limiting memories called revision. This isn't denial or pretending difficult experiences never happened. Rather, it's working with the fluid nature of memory itself to transform how these experiences register in your consciousness. When memories of financial struggle arise, don't suppress them or fight against them. Instead, actively revise them into expressions of the prosperity you're now claiming as your identity. See that stack of unpaid bills that haunts your memory? Visualize them clearly. Then watch as a bright red paid in full stamp appears across each one. Feel the relief and satisfaction of all obligations met with ease. Hear the congratulations from others, acknowledging your financial wisdom. Remember that painful rejection when seeking a financial opportunity? Revise it to hear words of acceptance, appreciation, and partnership instead. Feel the dignity and validation of being valued for your contributions. Recall moments of financial shame or embarrassment. Revise them into experiences of respect and admiration for your prosperity consciousness. Feel the inner certainty and outer recognition that accompanies true abundance. These revisions aren't fantasy or escape. They're actively reprogramming how these experiences register in your subconscious, the creative center that shapes your ongoing reality. The remarkable truth about this practice is that your subconscious doesn't distinguish between what actually happened and what you vividly reimagine with feeling. From its perspective, both register as impressions that shape your present and future experience. As you persist in revising financial memories, your subconscious gradually accepts these new versions as instruction and begins reshaping your present reality to match them. I witnessed Angela's transformation through this practice after years of carrying the burden of a bankruptcy. Though it had happened over a decade earlier, the shame and fear from that experience continued sabotaging her current financial efforts. Through revision, she began reimagining that period as a valuable learning journey that ultimately strengthened her financial wisdom and resilience. She revised specific painful moments, signing the bankruptcy papers, facing family members, dealing with creditors, into scenes of dignity, growth, and eventual triumph. As she persisted in this practice, the emotional charge of those memories began to shift. The shame and fear dissolved, replaced by a sense of empowerment and valuable learning. This inner transformation naturally reflected in her outer circumstances. New opportunities appeared, her financial confidence grew, and her prosperity expanded in ways that had, previously, seemed impossible. What makes revision so powerful is that it works with the actual mechanics of consciousness rather than against them. Your past financial experiences only affect your present and future because they live as active impressions in your subconscious. By revising these impressions, you're not denying reality, but actually transforming the causal level from which your experience emerges. If you've recognized memories that might be sabotaging your prosperity, write in the comments, "I'm revising my financial story." Now, let's discover the value of testing these principles with small, specific manifestations that build your confidence in the law. For many people approaching these manifestation principles, the idea of declaring, "I am a millionaire," or "I am financially free," can initially trigger strong resistance or disbelief. Florence Scovel Shinn understood this psychological barrier and offered a compassionate entry point that makes this journey accessible. To everyone, begin by testing the law with small, specific manifestations that build your confidence through undeniable results. This approach represents a brilliant strategy in consciousness transformation. Rather than overwhelming yourself with grand declarations that might trigger doubt or internal resistance, start with simple manifestations that feel more accessible. Imagine declaring before sleep, "Tomorrow I will find a coin on my path," or "Someone will unexpectedly treat me to coffee this week," or "I will receive a small unexpected gift." These modest declarations carry tremendous power precisely because of their specificity and relative neutrality. They don't trigger your doubt mechanisms the way larger financial goals might initially do. What makes these small tests so extraordinarily valuable is the clarity of their manifestation when they occur. There's something undeniable about declaring you'll find a coin and then discovering one in an unexpected location the next day. These experiences create reference points of evidence that strengthen your faith in the law itself far more effectively than any amount of theoretical understanding. Faith isn't built primarily through intellectual agreement, but through direct personal experience. I recall working with Marcus, who approached these principles with healthy skepticism. Rather than dismissing them entirely or forcing himself to believe in grand financial possibilities, he decided to test the waters with something small, finding a blue feather within 3 days. He declared this intention before sleep, felt it as already accomplished, and released it without anxiety. On the 3rd day, while walking in a park he rarely visited, he found not 1, but 3 blue feathers along his path. This simple experience became a turning point in his manifestation journey, a personal proof that his consciousness could indeed influence his reality. The revelation that transforms your prosperity practice is recognizing that these small manifestations aren't just cute coincidences or practice runs. They're demonstrating the exact same law that governs all manifestation, including financial abundance. Once you've proven the law in small ways, doubt naturally dissolves regarding larger manifestations. Your inner dialogue shifts from, "Does this really work?" to, "How far can I take this?" You've crossed the threshold from intellectual understanding to experiential knowing. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring an often overlooked but crucial aspect of the manifestation cycle: how you rise in the morning. Most people focus entirely on their pre-sleep practice, the declarations, the feeling state, the twilight consciousness, while completely neglecting how they approach waking. Yet Florence Scovel Shinn revealed that your morning attitude is equally vital in the manifestation process, either confirming or contradicting what you planted the night before. Consider what typically happens upon waking. Most people immediately begin scanning their reality for evidence that something has changed. They check their phones for messages about opportunities, look at their bank accounts for unexpected money, or mentally review their circumstances for signs of improvement. This behavior, though seemingly natural, actually undermines the manifestation process by expressing doubt in what was planted. It suggests that you don't truly believe the work is complete until external evidence confirms it. The enlightened approach is radically different. Rather than waking in question, rise in confirmation. Don't search for signs or run to check for proof. Instead, begin your day in calm dignity, continuing to affirm I am wealthy with the same natural certainty you would say your own name. This morning confirmation isn't pretending or forcing. It's maintaining alignment with the creative level of consciousness rather than immediately reverting to the level of appearances. Think about the journey of transformation Sophia experienced through this practice. Though she had faithfully declared prosperity before sleep, she would wake each morning anxiously checking for evidence of change. This pattern of planting at night and uprooting in the morning kept her prosperity seed from taking root. Her breakthrough came when she learned to rise in peaceful confirmation rather than anxious questioning. She would wake and immediately reaffirm her prosperity identity before engaging with the external world. This subtle yet powerful shift created the consistent consciousness from which abundance naturally flowered. What makes this morning practice so crucial is that it bridges the gap between your sleep state and your waking consciousness. During sleep, your subconscious accepted the prosperity seed without resistance. If you immediately revert to doubt upon waking, you create a consciousness split that prevents consistent manifestation. But when you rise in the same prosperity consciousness you fell asleep in, you establish the unbroken state from which manifestation naturally occurs. This morning confirmation becomes especially powerful when you embody it physically as well as mentally. How would a truly prosperous person wake? Likely with calm assurance rather than anxious hurry, with gratitude rather than worry, with expectation of good rather than fear of lack. Let your body language, breathing pattern, and first thoughts of the day all align with your prosperity identity. This embodied confirmation communicates to your subconscious that your declaration wasn't merely a nighttime ritual, but your actual, ongoing state of being. If you're beginning to recognize how your morning approach might be affecting your manifestation results, write in the comments, I rise in confirmation. Now let's explore the crucial consistency factor in manifestation, how making wealth consciousness your natural state accelerates the manifestation process. The pathway to lasting prosperity reveals a profound hidden truth that many manifestation teachings overlook entirely. Consistency matters more than intensity. Florence Scovel Shinn discovered that your subconscious mind responds most powerfully not to occasional passionate declarations, but to what feels natural and consistent in your consciousness. This insight transforms our entire approach to wealth manifestation. Think about skills you've mastered in your life, perhaps driving a car, typing on a keyboard, or speaking your native language. In the beginning, these activities required conscious effort and deliberate focus. But with consistent practice, they eventually became automatic, so natural you perform them without conscious thought. Your prosperity consciousness follows this exact same pattern of development. When you first begin declaring, I am wealthy, it might feel foreign or false, like speaking a language you're just beginning to learn. This is perfectly natural. But as you persist in this practice, declaring it before sleep, rising in confirmation, embodying it throughout your day, something remarkable happens. The declaration gradually transitions from effortful affirmation to natural recognition. You no longer need to convince yourself of your prosperity. You simply acknowledge what feels increasingly true in your experience. This transition from effort to naturalness marks the acceleration point in your manifestation journey. The subconscious doesn't respond as strongly to occasional enthusiastic declarations as it does to consistent, matter-of-fact assumptions that have become your default way of being. When wealth consciousness becomes as natural to you as breathing, not something you do occasionally but something you are continuously, manifestation accelerates dramatically. I recall Sarah's journey with these principles. Though she diligently practiced prosperity declarations, they initially felt like forcing herself to speak a foreign language. But she persisted, understanding that consistency would eventually transform effort into naturalness. After several months, she noticed a subtle but profound shift. Declaring, I am wealthy, no longer felt like an affirmation she was trying to believe, but simply an acknowledgement of what felt true. This shift in naturalness preceded a remarkable acceleration in her external prosperity manifestations. The revelation that transforms manifestation practice is recognizing that the goal isn't to perfect your declaration technique, but to transform your default state of being. You're not aiming for better prosperity affirmations. You're establishing prosperity as your natural identity. Practice isn't about perfecting the words, but about making the consciousness behind those words your normal state, as natural and unquestioned as your own name. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring what might be the most revolutionary aspect of Florence Scovel Shinn's teaching, the power of revision to literally change your personal history. Most people believe their past experiences are fixed and unchangeable, permanent foundations upon which their present reality rests. But this understanding fundamentally misunderstands the fluid, malleable nature of memory and its relationship to your ongoing experience. Through the transformative practice of revision, you can literally change your personal history, not by altering external events that physically occurred, but by transforming how those events exist in your consciousness, which is where their power to shape your present reality actually resides. Your past doesn't influence your present through some mystical causation. It affects you now because it lives as active memory impressions in your subconscious. Change those impressions, and you change the trajectory of your life. This perspective revolutionizes how we approach memories of financial struggle or limitation. Instead of accepting these memories as fixed influences on your present reality, you can actively revise them, rewriting scenes of lack into experiences of abundance, converting rejection into acceptance, transforming shame into dignity. This isn't denial or fantasy, but working with the actual mechanics of consciousness to alter the causal level from which your experience emerges. I worked with Jonathan, who carried powerful memories of financial humiliation from his childhood, particularly a vivid recollection of his family's electricity being shut off due to unpaid bills. This memory continued creating patterns of financial insecurity in his adult life, despite his conscious efforts to create prosperity. Through revision, he began reimagining that pivotal scene, seeing the bills paid on time, feeling the security of uninterrupted service, experiencing his parents' pride in their financial management. As he persisted in this practice, the emotional charge of the original memory began to shift. The remarkable testimony he shared mirrors what many experience through this practice. It was as though I had changed history itself, for life began to answer my revised memory rather than the original one. His current financial patterns transformed, not because he changed the physical past, but because he altered how that past existed in his consciousness, which is where its power to influence his present actually resided. What makes revision so extraordinary is that it works with rather than against the creative process. Your subconscious responds to impressions, not to objective historical facts. When you vividly reimagine past experiences with new emotional content and persist until these revised versions feel more real than the originals, you're actually reprogramming the causal level from which your present reality emerges. This practice becomes particularly powerful when applied to your financial history. Those memories of struggling to pay bills? Revise them. To see yourself handling financial obligations with ease and even generosity. Those recollections of being denied opportunities? Rewrite them as scenes of doors opening and appreciation for your contributions. Those moments of financial worry? Transform them into experiences of security and abundance. As you persist in this practice, these revised memories gradually replace the originals in your subconscious programming. The journey through revision isn't about denying reality, but about recognizing a deeper truth, that reality itself emerges from consciousness, and consciousness can be transformed through deliberate, consistent practice. Your present financial circumstances aren't inevitable results of past events. They're expressions of how those events continue living in your consciousness. Change the consciousness, and you change the expression. If you're beginning to grasp how you can literally rewrite your financial history through revision, share in the comments. I'm the author of my story. Now, let's explore the fundamental principle that governs all manifestation, the law of assumption, and how it creates your financial reality. Beneath all the techniques and practices we've explored lies a singular foundational principle that Florence Scovel Shinn discovered governs all manifestation, the law of assumption. This powerful yet elegantly simple law states that whatever state you faithfully assume in consciousness, that you inevitably become in experience. This isn't positive thinking or wishful dreaming. It's the fundamental mechanism by which reality itself takes form in your life. The law of assumption operates with mathematical precision and unwavering consistency. Assume the consciousness of poverty, and you will experience lack. Assume the consciousness of wealth, and you will experience abundance. This isn't because the universe is rewarding or punishing you, but because your assumption actually shapes the lens through which you perceive and interact with reality. Your outer world must eventually conform to your sustained inner assumption. It has no choice under this immutable law. Think about the profound implications of this understanding. Your current financial circumstances aren't random accidents or the result of external forces beyond your control. They're the precise reflection of what you've been assuming in consciousness, often unconsciously, up until this moment. The job you have, the income you receive, the opportunities that appear or don't appear, the financial patterns that repeat in your life, all are externalizations of your sustained inner assumptions. The breakthrough revelation here is recognizing that changing your financial reality doesn't require manipulating external circumstances, accumulating special knowledge, or accessing privileged connections. It requires changing the assumption from which you're operating. When you shift your assumption from "I am financially limited" to "I am wealthy," the entire universe must reorganize itself to reflect this new assumption back to you, not because of magical thinking, but because of how consciousness itself operates. I recall Michael's transformation through this principle after years of financial struggle. Though his external circumstances hadn't yet changed, he began faithfully assuming the consciousness of abundance. He didn't just affirm it occasionally. He lived from that assumption consistently, letting it shape his perceptions, decisions, and interactions. At first, nothing seemed different externally, but as he maintained this assumption without wavering, the bridge of incidents began forming. Opportunities appeared that had previously been invisible to him. Resources materialized from unexpected sources. Connections formed that accelerated his prosperity journey. Within months, his financial reality had transformed completely, not through manipulation of circumstances, but through the faithful application of the law of assumption. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring the powerful culmination of everything we've discussed, the final declaration that serves as the seal upon this entire prosperity practice. After understanding the womb of sleep, the creative power of the subconscious, the danger of negative thinking, the transformation of revision, and all the other principles we've explored, everything culminates in a singular, powerful affirmation that captures the essence of prosperity consciousness. This final declaration isn't spoken as a hope or wish for the future. It isn't framed as a request to be granted or a goal to be achieved eventually. It's stated as present, established reality. I am wealthy. I am free. I am already the fortune I desire. These words, when spoken with the certainty of recognition rather than the uncertainty of aspiration, become the seal upon your heart, the definitive imprint that shapes your entire manifestation journey. Let these words be the last thought that crosses your mind before surrendering to sleep each night. Let them be the first truth you acknowledge upon waking each morning. Let them be the background consciousness from which you perceive and interact with the world throughout your day. When spoken as established fact rather than tentative possibility, the world cannot resist conforming to them, for the law of assumption operates with unwavering precision. What makes this final declaration so powerful is that it encompasses not just the external trappings of wealth, but the internal state of genuine prosperity consciousness. I am wealthy addresses material abundance. I am free speaks to the liberation from financial worry and limitation. I am already the fortune I desire acknowledges the present completeness of your prosperity journey, not something to be achieved in some distant future, but a reality to be recognized now. Elizabeth's journey illuminates the power of this final declaration. After years of financial struggle, she began closing each day and beginning each morning with these words. At first, they felt foreign on her lips, a stark contrast to her visible circumstances. But as she persisted, something shifted within her consciousness. The declaration began feeling increasingly natural, as though she were simply acknowledging what was already true on some deeper level. This inner shift preceded the remarkable transformation in her external circumstances, not because the words were magical, but because they realigned her entire consciousness with the prosperity she sought to experience. The revelation that transforms this practice is understanding that these aren't just words to be mechanically repeated. They're an identity to be fully embodied. When you declare, "I am wealthy," with genuine conviction, you're not trying to manipulate reality. You're recognizing the abundance that already exists as your birthright. You're aligning with the creative principle from which all experience emerges. You're acknowledging what is eternally true beneath the temporary appearances of limitation. This final declaration becomes the foundation stone upon which your entire prosperity consciousness is built. It's not just one practice among many, but the culmination and synthesis of everything we've explored. All the techniques, sleep programming, revision, the twilight state, morning confirmation, are ultimately pathways to establishing this declaration as your natural, unquestioned identity. When "I am wealthy" feels as natural and obvious to you as your own name, manifestation has already occurred on the causal level, and the outer must inevitably follow. If you're ready to make this final declaration the seal upon your prosperity consciousness, write in the comments, "I am already wealth." Now, let's discover how the testimonies of those who've walked this path before you stand as beacons of possibility, showing what becomes available when you faithfully apply these principles in your own life. As we come to the end of this journey together, I hope you've discovered the transformative power that lies in those precious moments before sleep. The principles Florence Scovel Shinn revealed aren't just theories or spiritual concepts. They're practical tools that have changed countless lives and can transform yours as well. If this message resonated with you today, it wasn't by accident. There's a reason you stayed. Until the very end, something within you recognized a truth that your soul has been waiting to hear. Our connection through this exploration of prosperity consciousness means something, and I'd love to continue sharing these hidden wisdom teachings with you. Consider becoming part of our community by subscribing to this channel. Each week, we dive deep into these transformative principles that most people never discover, the very insights that can shift your financial reality from the inside out. This is about more than just videos. It's about creating a movement of conscious creators who understand the true source of abundance. If you found value in what we've shared today, a simple like lets me know these teachings matter to you. It's a small gesture that makes a significant difference in helping others discover these principles too. And if you're someone who truly resonated with this message, someone who recognizes that the path to wealth begins in consciousness rather than circumstances, leave a comment saying, "I plant prosperity nightly." Not only does this help our community grow, but it also serves as your public declaration of commitment to this practice. The journey doesn't end here. I've created another video that explores how to maintain this prosperity consciousness throughout your day, even when facing apparent contradictions. It's the perfect companion to what you've learned today. Click right here and continue this exploration with me there. Your prosperity journey is just beginning, and I'm honored to walk this path alongside you.